Former Republican presidential candidate Carly Fiorina rose in the primary polls following her strong pro-life debate performances. How did the former Hewlett-Packard CEO come to be so outspoken on the life issue? In our pro-life focus this week, Carly Fiorina opens up in a new personal way about her journey to the pro-life cause. Carly Fiorina, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
My pleasure.
You are not shy in sharing your pro-life views. How did you come to be so passionate about this issue?
Well, you know, it was experience, a whole set of experiences. First, perhaps, was an experience I had in my early 20s, right here in Washington, D.C., actually. I had a very good friend who decided she was going to have an abortion. And despite my talking with her, she was adamant about this. And so we went to a Planned Parenthood clinic. I observed that she was given no options. There was no conversation about whether or not this was the right thing for her and what her other alternatives might be. It was a callous experience, and I saw the impact of that abortion on her, not just physically, but emotionally and especially spiritually. Honestly, she was never the same since. I met my husband a couple years later, and when I married him, I learned that his mother had been told to abort him. She had him quite late in her life. She had a great deal of difficulty with her previous pregnancies, and so her doctor told her her life was in danger and she should abort her unborn child. She refused. She was a brave and faithful woman. She spent a year in the hospital after his birth. But I've thought often about how different her life would have been, how different my life would have been had he not been brought into the world. I learned I couldn't have children of my own later, so I understand that life is a precious gift. And then on top of all of that personal experience, science is proving us right.
A vast majority of babies who are diagnosed with disabilities or special needs are aborted in the womb. You, Carly, after high school, volunteered at a high school for children with special needs. What kind of impact did that have on you?
I volunteered in a school for children that were severely disabled in some way, whether it was physical disabilities or mental challenges. Every single one of these children was gifted by God. And I can remember in particular a little boy who had so many challenges, and yet joy radiated out of this child.
Every life has value.
That's right.
Carly, you have battled and you have beaten cancer. Can you share more with us about that specific time in your life?
Well, anyone who hears the word cancer about themselves from a doctor experiences this moment of, or maybe many moments, but when you first hear that word, it's sheer terror. You know, it's a word that terrifies us. I would not wish cancer on anyone. Having said that, and having survived it, I can say now that cancer was a blessing in some ways. It was a blessing because it reaffirmed my faith. I relied on my faith, and my faith didn't let me down. It strengthened my family. You know what love really is when you're in a very difficult situation, not when you're in an easy situation. And it was a blessing as well because I experienced the kindness of so many strangers. Again, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but when you have an experience that starts out as terrifying and you end up getting through it, and at the end of it all, your faith is stronger, your family is stronger, and your belief in your fellow human being is stronger, that's a blessing.
Planned Parenthood supporters say defunding the abortion giant would prevent more women from getting breast exams and from detecting cancer. This is an issue that's obviously very close to you. So how do you respond to those claims?
Well, first of all, of course, it's untrue. It's a lie. Planned Parenthood doesn't provide mammograms. They provide references for mammograms, but so do pregnancy centers, community health centers. There are all kinds of centers available for women, most of which are not funded by taxpayers, actually, although they are funded frequently by the generosity of donors, that can provide a woman access to the holistic health care that she needs, including mammograms. There is no reason that a woman cannot have access to a mammogram. We don't need Planned Parenthood to provide that. I served for a period of time on the board of the GW Hospital in Washington, D.C. And just as one example, this is a hospital that has a tremendous program of outreach to the community. African American women are more subject to breast cancer than are Anglo women. We're not sure we understand this, but GW took it upon themselves to make sure that they have mobile mammograms that move into communities here in Washington, D.C. and make available to women on their, literally on their street corner in their neighborhoods, screening. So this is a myth that Planned Parenthood puts forward, but obviously it's a myth that has a big impact because we all want women to have access to early detection, which is the key to survival in cancer.
Carly Fiorina, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.